Happy Tuesday. Welcome to This Love is for You, girl. Today we are going to talk about living in alignment with God's will. I hope y'all are having a good week so far. Let's get started. So God did not create us as robots, okay? We are not mindless, robotic creatures that just do his bidding, without our participation. Like, we have to choose the Lord. We have to choose to be in alignment with his will for our lives. That's not something that just happens automatically, or just because you're born, just because you're a Christian, doesn't mean that you're automatically going to be walking in alignment with God's will for your life. And I think that's a really important distinction for us to understand. Living in alignment with the Father's desires means partnering with him to discover and remain in his will. It's an active participation on our end of things. So what does that look like, and how do we accomplish it? The first thing we can do is just spending time with the Father. I know that sounds probably elementary to some of you, but it's something that most of us do not get enough of, especially in this wild, super fast, constantly busy culture that we live in. How often do we really sit down and just be still and silent with him? How often are we spending time in prayer, not corporate prayer in church, but just talking to him, relational conversation with the Father? How often are we getting into his word? How often are we spending that time with him? We should be so used to spending time with him. Spending time with the Father should be so ingrained in us and such a part of our day-to-day lives that when we can't do it one day or don't do it one day for whatever reason, we feel that. We miss him, okay? Think about your marriage. How great of a marriage would you have if you never ever spoke with your husband, if you never spoke with your wife, if you never really got to know what makes them tick, what do they like, what do they not like, what brings them joy, what brings them pleasure? If we don't spend quality time in the presence of the Father, how in the world are we to know his will? It would be very difficult to do so. So spend time with him. The second thing we can do is pray and ask God to align our hearts with his. Ask him to align our desires with his desires. The Bible tells us that God will fulfill the desires of our hearts. That does not mean that because you want a Lamborghini, you're automatically going to get it. If that's in God's will, then you will get it. But him fulfilling the desires of our hearts means he is going to fulfill every promise that he has made to us. He is going to fulfill every part of what he desires for us. And so when we have our hearts aligned with his, it's a joyful life, right? Because we're wanting the same things as he does for us, and then he's going to fulfill those things. And so that is going to be fulfilling for us. That is going to be joyful for us. That is going to be peaceful for us. Everything in God's will is not easy, right? And that's not what I'm saying, but I am saying that everything in his will for you is good, and it is the best thing for you. So ask him to set your expectations to be his expectations. So much of the time in life, we have massive disappointment because we were expecting something that we should have never been expecting, right? And so when we ask him to align our desires, our will, our expectations with his heart for us, makes life a whole lot easier, and it helps us stay in alignment with what he's asking us to do. The third thing is obeying. Obedience is really hard for all of us. As children, we see that, and it remains with us as adults, right? Obedience does not come easy, but it gets easier. The more that you obey God, the more that you surrender to what his will is for your life, and the more you see that the outcomes of those things are actually so much better than any outcome you could have planned for yourself or you could have controlled for yourself, the easier it becomes. Practice makes perfect, just like with anything else in life. So we have to surrender to it. We have to be willing to be obedient and posture our hearts in such a way that we are telling God, like, we are giving you our yes, right? Like, whatever it is you're asking me to do, this is my yes to you, Lord, because I know that your will is better than mine is, 100%. So I just encourage you today, walk hand in hand through life with the Lord. Choose his ways because they are greater than our ways. And I think that you really will start to see some abundant blessings in your life when you do that. I hope you have a great week, and remember that every day and always, this love is for you, girl.